On today's episode, I'm sharing why I think it's important for us to question information if we want to show up with compassion and curiosity, and why information is never more important than you and I. Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of Show Up with Gentry. I'm Gentry, and this is the space where we figure out how to show up for life together, grow as humans so we can propel humanity forward. Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode. It means a lot to me. If you like it, do me a favor and give me the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel as well. So do you guys remember playing Whisper Down the Lane when you're a little kid? One of you comes up with a phrase, something, anything, like, my dog ate a frog, which, by the way, is a true story. This weekend, we were hiking, and there was this little tiny frog. I hope this isn't too graphic for people. There was this little tiny frog that was hopping around, caught the eye of my dog, and he kind of started playing with it, and the frog jumped into his mouth, and that's the end of that story. Whisper down the lane. So you pick a phrase, my dog ate a frog, and then one kid whispers it to the next person, and then that kid whispers what they heard to the next person, and that kid whispers what they heard to the next person until you get to the end of the line, and the final person says what they heard. Usually everybody starts laughing or is just completely confused, or something else entirely comes out usually than what it started as. It's fascinating, isn't it? To see how one piece of information can transform through each new person that hears it and then passes it along. The piece of information, it's like it takes on a life of its own. It's almost as if it's a living, breathing organism. It's capable suddenly of thinking and adapting and changing. The piece of information decides it doesn't like who it is, and so it changes, as if it has a mind, as if it has its own will, as if it's capable of doing that. Somewhere between the lips of one person speaking it and the ears of another person, that information becomes something completely different than what it was intended to be. Information is sneaky like that. It can become something so different, but sometimes something so much more powerful than what it was intended to be. My dog ate a frog transforms into, my God, you're a frog, transforms into, my dad ate a log, transforms into, my data is logged. Completely different than my dog ate a frog. Somewhere between you and me, information changes. Sometimes this is good. Sometimes information that was intended to harm people becomes something that unites us. Sometimes information becomes inspiration. But sometimes information changes into a weapon. Sometimes it changes into ignorance. Sometimes it changes into despair, anger, judgment. Information becomes ammunition. It's almost as if we aren't in control of it anymore. The communicators have lost control of the communication. And now the communication is more important than the communicator. Now we've placed the communication up here and the person communicating it down here. And we place more value in what we know than who we know. You've seen this. Political discussions around a family table turn into name-calling or anger or frustration at each other. And instead of hating the information, we end up hating the person delivering the information. Information, left to its own devices, will start wars, break up relationships, tear apart families, dismantle democracy, destroy lives, kill creativity. The list goes on and on of what information can do. It just keeps getting whispered down the lane over and over and over again until it becomes something it was never meant to be. Information has now become the puppeteer, and we've become the puppets. But information is not a living, breathing organism with a mind of its own. Only the one communicating it has the ability to change it. My dog ate a frog was never intended to start a war. but it did. My dog ate a frog was never intended to cause pain, but it did. My dog ate a frog was never intended to be a barometer for judgment, but that's exactly what it has become. You have to remember, information needs a vessel. It needs you and I to exist. It needs a living, breathing, capable human being that is able to apply meaning and interpretation and insight in order for it to live and exist and thrive. And I'm just going to take a guess, because you're watching or you're listening to this, that you're probably one of those capable human beings able to apply meaning and interpretation and insight. It's just a hunch. I think it's a pretty good one. And if you're able to apply meaning to information that I've shared, then that means you get to interpret it differently. And that different interpretation means you've applied new insights to it, which then changes the information that I shared. Sometimes this leads to growth, which is good. But sometimes it leads to injustice. It leads to hate. It leads to fear. It leads to pain and judgment. And this, my friends, is where information becomes ammunition. As soon as you have this new information, you think you have new power that you didn't have before. And you think now you have an excuse for the way that you are behaving. It's almost as if you're taking this information as indisputable. And because you're not taught to question, or in some cases you're taught that questioning is wrong, you're actually stifling your growth. You're stifling your ability to grow and evolve as a human and to propel humanity forward. Because how do we grow? We grow by learning new information, having new experiences, but then comparing that to our past information and our past experiences to see if it's worth the effort of growing. Growth takes work. To grow, you have to be able to move beyond past information that you know and past experiences that you've had into new information and new experiences. So if you get new information and you have a new experience and you look at that and go, this is worth exploring, you'll get curious. You'll dig deep into it. You'll explore it until it causes you to grow in some way. But what we see so often of this is the opposite. Information is just so widely accepted. But when you accept information, you don't have to do the work of growing because of it. Because information accepted just gets stored in our minds and we're just okay with it. Just information, it's good, I accept it, boom. I don't have to grow. It's not going to change me. I'm not going to have to think differently. I'm not going to have to step outside of my own perspective. Nope. Accepted. Check. Growth doesn't happen that way. If you don't question information, and new experiences, it means one of three things. The information already matches something you know and believe. So you tuck it away as confirmation, use it as a reason to see why other people who think differently are wrong, and feel justified in letting them know. Or two, the information feels so different, so far out there, so hard for you to accept that it scares you, and so you push it really far away. Or third, you look at this new information, you explore it, you're willing to go a little bit deeper with it, to see if maybe, just maybe, there's something in this new information that could help you grow. Maybe there's something that could help you understand life in a way that you didn't understand it before. Two of these things give us permission to use information as ammunition. It places the information above the person communicating it. One of these things gives us compassion for the communicator, and it helps us to evolve. Right now, we need people to place more value on the communicator, the human being in this equation, than the information. We need more curiosity to fuel our compassion. We need to remember that information doesn't have a mind of its own, doesn't call the shots, isn't more important than the human being sitting across the table from you. Because if you let it, information will be the puppet master and you will be the puppet. Friends, we have got to learn how to show up with curiosity and compassion, especially when information that you learn and hear is different than what already confirms what you know, because what you know will not take you to where you need to go to grow. When you place more value on what you know versus who you know, you will stay stuck. I'm going to leave it at that. Show up with compassion and curiosity so that we can move humanity forward. Friends, thank you for watching another episode of Show Up with Gentry. If you liked it, give me the thumbs up, subscribe, share this with your friends, and join us. We've got this Facebook group that I'm getting started called Show Up Together. It's the place where I'm building this community of humans that want to grow, to evolve, so we can propel humanity forward. That's what we're all about here. So join us. The link will be in the description. And as always, keep an open mind, open hands, open heart. And today this is particularly important. Stay curious and have compassion.